A man shouts that even with his parents gone, the debt still needs to be paid by the son. Annoyed, the boy replies that his parents lost their lives mining for them and that he should be compensated. Someone in a special suit says that if he awakens successfully, there will still be hope for everyone. Feeling overwhelming pain, the young man is on the ground while going through some kind of forced process. Defeated, he wonders why they don't try it themselves, since the chance of awakening is 1 in 1,000. Desperate, he realizes they are afraid to perish, and that's why he is the one who must take the risk. Abruptly, a dark and frightening creature emerges from within our protagonist's body. Being overpowered by the monster, he cries out in agony, not understanding why he has to endure all of this. He then questions if all this suffering is just because he is considered weak by others. Instantly, his eye glows, and he refuses to accept that the weak should just fade away in silence. A system screen appears, stating that the shadow system has been activated after connecting with the boy. The scene changes, and we meet Li, an experienced interdimensional miner who risks his life. A man comments that his work was good and that perhaps in 1 year he will pay off his parents' debt. Touching his shoulder, he mentions that in 3 or 5 years, Li might be able to buy an apartment. Our hero agrees, but in his thoughts, he curses his boss for being a heartless capitalist. We see a portal that emits radiation and gives a 1 in 1,000 chance of awakening powers, but can also be life-ending. Inside a vehicle, we see several workers who only accept this job out of pure necessity. His colleagues discuss the story of the boy whose parents perished in an accident 3 years ago. The corporation blamed his parents for $1 million loss and compelled him to inherit this huge debt. One of them says that fighting for payback would be pointless, as it would be better to earn good money. With his eyes glowing blue, the boy reflects on the word weak. He thinks that weakness is often not the person's fault, but rather that of a dysfunctional society. Arriving at the cave entrance, the supervisor declares that everything is ready and it's time to work. Unexpectedly, a strong tremor shakes the place, causing 2 miners to lose their balance. The boss yells at them, claiming it was just a tremor, but a colleague finds it strange to have quakes there. Another worker gets frightened and wonders if the tremor wasn't caused by monsters. The panic escalates, and they want to leave because they heard that dangerous humanoids live there. The supervisor tells everyone to be quiet and assures them that an Awaken 1 cleared the area 3 years prior. Before he can finish his sentence, a dark claw goes through his chest without warning. One of the older miners is completely frozen with fear upon witnessing the scene. Another worker exclaims in shock that the supervisor was just taken right in front of everyone. Startled, our protagonist looks up, unable to believe what is happening. A creature attacks a colleague next to him and a red spray fills the air. An interdimensional humanoid appears in the middle of the group and begins an onslaught. The creatures advance without mercy while the workers run, screaming for their lives. A huge monster chases Li, who despairs upon seeing they are 10 kilometers from the exit. His gaze fills with terror, and he doubts that anyone can escape from that nightmare. Running, the young man shouts that this situation is far beyond their ability to handle. One of the workers is caught in mid-air by a beast and struck with great force. Then, he is thrown into a crevice in the ground with no chance of making it. Coughing on the ground, our hero struggles to get up amidst the chaos. He sees his colleagues getting on the truck and desperately calls for them to wait for him. But the vehicle speeds up and leaves him behind as he begs to be taken along. All of a sudden, a monster lands on the truck's windshield, startling the drivers. In a panic, the driver and his passenger cringe as the claws draw closer. The fiend then destroys the truck and grabs 2 workers who cry out for help. Watching from a distance, Li notices that the monsters are focused on the people in the vehicle. Following that, 2 humanoids launch themselves at the truck, causing a massive explosion. The protagonist is stunned by the intense scene and the creature's destructive power. Surprisingly, the beasts start to catch fire and shriek in agony from the flames. He then wonders if the weak point of these frightening beings could be fire. Seeing some fallen torches on the ground, he decides it's worth trying this idea. As he gets ready, another fiend appears to his right, and he curses his own bad luck. The humanoid assails him, but our hero nimbly dodges and gets closer to a torch. With a swift move, his hand reaches out to grab the flaming object on the ground. Finally, he manages to grab the lit torch and readies himself for combat. Holding 2 torches, he confronts the monster and yells for the creature to go away. The beasts hesitate before the fire, and he realizes he was right about their weakness. He then shouts to warn all the survivors that these things are afraid of fire. The scene shifts and tells us that 10 years ago, mysterious portals appeared all over the world. Only the advanced beings who awakened through the radiation had the power to fight the monsters. Back in the present, the miners run with torches, and the narration reminds us that they are normal people. Li then shouts for everyone to grab as many flammable things as they can find on the way. Worried, one of the older men realizes that his torch won't stay lit for much longer. Quickly, our hero remembers there is gasoline in the warehouse to block the entrance until rescue arrives. He then tells everyone to form a circle back to back and retreat slowly. The defensive formation works well, as the creatures just observe them from a distance without attacking. Once inside the warehouse, he shouts for them to pour the gasoline at the cave entrance immediately. Obeying the order, one of the men kicks a gasoline barrel, spreading the liquid on the floor. As the gasoline spreads, they all position themselves with torches in hand, awaiting the right moment. As soon as the puddle of fuel is large enough, the young man tells everyone to throw their torches. One of the torches flies towards the flammable liquid, passing close to a monster's claws. An immense wall of fire erupts at the entrance, blocking the passage of the creatures, who roar with rage. Safe for now, the older miner and a colleague thank Li Yi for having saved everyone. While resting, one of them says that Li Yi can count on his help for anything in the future. Our protagonist just listens to everyone's thanks with a serious and very thoughtful expression. Out of nowhere, they notice a very strange statue on the bed of a truck in the warehouse. A colleague explains that the supervisor planned to smuggle the statue to sell on the black market. Soon after, one of the miners gets a signal on the radio and calls for Sector 7. Desperate, they report that they were assailed by humanoids and need urgent rescue. Over the radio, the response says that help will arrive in 2 hours, and they should take care until then. Frantic, the man begs for them to come sooner, but the communication cuts out, and he is left without an answer. Only static can be heard on the radio, leaving the group in silence and completely without hope. Panic mounts as the suits only have 1.5 hours of power, and someone suggests fleeing in the truck. Listening to the chaotic conversation, our protagonist remains quiet with a very stern expression. His suit's battery is at only 6%, and he hopes the rescue arrives soon. Trying to control the situation, the young man asks everyone to stop for a second and listen to him. One of the older miners says that their suits won't last, and someone will have to make a sacrifice. He then suggests that the older ones or the orphans be the sacrifices as he looks at Li Yi. Pointing at the youth, he says his life is a struggle because he has no family and is in debt. The man demands that our hero hand over his suit's battery, which makes him extremely furious. Without hesitation, the man lands a punch on the young man and asks if he thinks he can fight back. Fallen on the ground, Li Yi is surrounded by 2 armed men who dare him to try and resist. They hold him down, saying that the radiation might awaken him, and thus he would become their savior. With his helmet now off, our hero swears that if he awakens, the first person he will go after is his attacker. The man ignores the threat and takes the battery while the young man coughs, with a slim chance of awakening. With a pickaxe on his shoulder, the aggressor turns to the rest of the group and asks who's next. Terrified, the other miners start pushing each other to avoid being the next ones chosen. Taking advantage of the confusion, one of the men runs towards the truck to try and escape alone. His colleagues realize the betrayal and shout for him to stop while the man attempts to climb into the vehicle. In the truck's cabin, the man exclaims that if he is to go down, then everyone will go down together. He accelerates the vehicle towards the fire barrier while the statue sways on the truck bed. The truck hits the statue and throws it towards the fire while the others yell for him to stop. With the barrier broken, the humanoids invade the warehouse, and pandemonium takes over. Sprawled on the ground, our protagonist looks at the broken statue and asks if it is laughing. He gets annoyed and questions if even that darn statue is mocking his misfortune. One of the monsters jumps and smashes the statue's head right in front of our astonished hero. The scene returns to the beginning, and he sees himself being overwhelmed by the creature, wondering why all of this is happening. In a painful flashback, he fights against the being and screams, not understanding why he has to endure this. Being consumed by the shadow, he questions if all this suffering is just because he's weak. Memories of people rejecting him surface, saying that his parents' debt needs to be paid. Another memory shows a man calling him crazy for wanting to investigate his parents' passing. The man shoves complaint letters in his face, saying he will give him the truth he so desperately seeks. The truth, according to him, is that his parents violated the rules and caused the $1 million accident. Angrily, the young man clenches his fist tightly on the wet ground, feeling the humiliation. The man kicks him and says that none of this would have happened if he had accepted the compensation. He then informs the boy that he has 3 years to pay off the debt with $30,000 in interest per month. Fallen and without hope, the man offers a way out and suggests he become a miner. Back at the awakening, he fights on, even injured, and swears he won't make it easy for his aggressors. With a determined gaze, he refuses to accept that the weak should just fade away in silence. With one blow, the dark creature throws the young man's battered body to the ground. Upside down, he complains that the smell of that beast is truly revolting. An entity levitates him and says it thought he had potential, but it was just a useless struggle. The young man retorts that at least he fought, unlike the monarch who only watched its statue break. That shadow being says it is the only one who can save him and just needs his body. Annoyed, the youth refuses the offer and says he would rather perish than be controlled by a freak. The monarch starts to laugh, finding the attitude amusing, and asks if he'd rather be taken out than surrender. Unexpectedly, the shadow system is activated, leaving the entity surprised by the turn of events. The humanoid monster is also taken aback as a purple energy completely envelopes it. Then, the creature is pulled and absorbed by shadow tentacles emerging from the ground. Now transformed, Li asks if it was that ant that dared to smash his statue. The monster's essence is absorbed, and he coldly states that he is a very vengeful person. Completely changed, he now has a small shadow monster by his side that growls at him. Calling the other creatures noisy, the new shadow being moves in for the attack. He creates a giant shadow that assails the remaining humanoids and tells them all to disappear. The shadow then throws the monsters into a dark portal while they shriek. Next, he summons a small shadow servant to approach him slowly. With the little monster nearby, he repeats that the smell of that thing is really very disgusting. Now he turns to his colleagues and traps them with tentacles while they threaten him. Shrouded in a purple aura, he asks what they would do if he returned their bodies now. Trapped, the miners plead for their lives, saying they were just trying to survive. One of them argues that without them, Liu would not have evolved, and that now he should forgive them. With a look of pure contempt, the young man sarcastically asks if he should thank them now. Relieved, the man says that he doesn't need thanks, and that he can just forget everything and let them go. The protagonist agrees to let them go and even promises to help them all. He then uses his powers to take the helmet of one of the men, who becomes utterly terrified. He forces them all to breathe the radiation, and they begin to cough up red liquid, unable to believe it. Two colleagues who did not betray him plead not to be harmed, as they did nothing wrong. He throws the stolen batteries to them and says that those items are theirs now. The shadow entity warns him to let go of his useless pity before it's too late. His form returns to normal, and he realizes that the shadow protected and helped him the whole time. Our protagonist yells at the entity, saying he'll see if it's still tough on the brink of demise. Leaving the cave, he finds an army of monsters and wonders if any of them are abnormal. The shadow proposes that he either hand over his body or deal with that pile of trash alone. The monarch notices his legs are trembling and says that without its power he is nothing. Li ignores the taunt and with a shadow blade on his leg, prepares to fight. Kicking one of the monsters, he states he doesn't need sermons from that shadow entity. With agility, he strikes and is surprised by the lightness of his body and the strength of his blows. He jumps over one of the beasts and delivers a powerful kick that sends it flying far away. With a determined look, he faces the creatures, ready to take on the horde alone. With his eyes glowing intensely, he focuses for the battle ahead. Using a shadow blade on his foot, he kicks one of the monsters with incredible force. Dodging with ease, he realizes his reflexes and speed have greatly increased. The shadow entity scoffs at him and calls him pathetic even with the system's power. Irritated by the taunt, our hero prepares to show his true power. He yells for the shadow to shut up and assails a monster with a kick of pure energy. In a fighting stance, he wonders why his strength increased so much all of a sudden. Facing another creature, he notes that physical attacks alone are not enough. Wishing for a weapon, he concentrates the shadow energy in his hand to create something new. To his surprise, a dagger forms from the shadows in his right hand. Wielding the new weapon, he prepares to test it on one of the giant humanoids. With a swift move, he pierces the monster's back, showing the dagger's effectiveness. With a confident smirk, he realizes that now he can face even the abnormal ones. He faces two more creatures and understands that he has finally become an evolved one. With his dagger, he severs a monster's arm and prepares for the next attack. Even surrounded, he finally feels he has a real chance to win this fight. Rushing into battle, he celebrates finally having the power to fight back. The creature's red essence sprays everywhere after a direct hit from the youth. The monster's hand falls to the ground, completely separated from its body by the dagger's cut. Exhausted and covered in red, our protagonist starts to laugh from pure adrenaline. Surrounded by the bodies of the monsters, our hero continues to laugh, drained but victorious. A system screen appears and congratulates him on the successful evolution to rank E. In a hospital, a doctor and a nurse find it strange that Lee hasn't woken up yet. The nurse gets excited to learn that he is an ascendant and wants to know his level. As she leaves, the young woman finds him very handsome, while a shadow appears beside his bed. The entity complains about having chosen a rank E human, but finds his talent interesting. Waking up, our hero gets irritated seeing the shadow again and asks what it wants. The creature introduces itself as an ancient ruler and demands his body to retake its throne. The youth scoffs at the entity and calls it an ugly cockroach, refusing the offer without a second thought. Furious, the creature calls him a mere human and demands his body, stating this is his only reason for existing. In his thoughts, the young man finds the entity unstable and decides not to provoke it anymore. He imagines bizarre scenarios, like taking himself out to scare it or trying for a friendly breakup. The entity gets tired of the young man's absurd thoughts and yells at him to stop the nonsense. It complains about having chosen a rank E human and says it would have preferred an old dog if it weren't for the urgency. Then it gives him a 3-day ultimatum to reach rank D or be completely erased. Suddenly he is in a cave, and the shadow explains that it is the insect nest for his test. The creature says that because it possessed him, the test's count was reset, and now he can try. A giant beetle appears, and the system identifies it using the entity's knowledge base. Holding his shadow dagger, he reflects on the system and prepares for combat. With a swift and precise movement, he advances to attack the monster with his new weapon. The beetle strikes with incredible speed, but our hero manages to defend himself with his dagger. Enraged by the resistance, the creature lets out a frightening and very intimidating sound. Using the system's knowledge, he quickly moves to the blind spot behind the monster. He jumps for an aerial attack, but his weapon only produces sparks on the creature's hard shell. With another powerful blow, he attempts to pierce the insect's defense, but the attack is useless. His blade hits the monster's armor hard without causing even a single scratch. Frustrated, he realizes that the creature's shell is tougher than he imagined. The shadow entity then calls him useless for not being able to harm the giant insect. He retorts that how he fights is none of its business, and the shadow tells him not to ask for help. Desperate, he attacks the creature's face and wonders if this thing has a weak point. The continuous attacks on the monster's head also prove to be totally ineffective. All of a sudden, the beetle hits him with a powerful kick and throws him far away with great force. The impact throws him violently against the cave wall, and he feels immense pain. Down, he notices a green, sticky liquid on his shoulder while the shadow calls him a weakling. He looks at the monster and sees the same green goo coming from a crack in its leg. The insect's shell begins to corrode where the liquid fell, and he realizes it's its fluid. With a confident smile and his eyes glowing, he finally discovers the creature's weakness. The beetle roars in pain and fury upon seeing its weak point exposed by the youth. Facing the monster, he says that now they will see who the real coward is in this battle. The shadow entity is surprised and wonders if the new ability is the Eye of Shadows. Using the monster's own fluid, he throws his dagger with precision at the creature's injured leg. The shadow entity criticizes him for breaking only one leg, but the young man has a plan in mind. He explains that without the front leg, it will be much easier to hit the real weak spot. Realizing he needs more firepower, he concentrates the shadow energy in his hand. A powerful shadow spear forms, and he prepares for the final blow against the beetle. With a battle cry, he hurls the weapon and hits the giant monster square in the belly. With the spear in hand, he observes the fallen creature and explains why it hasn't been vanquished yet. He reveals that the insect's true weak point was its abdomen all along. Exhausted, he celebrates the victory, and the shadow provokes him for being tired after the easy fight. Touching a crystal, he feels a wave of power and calls it an experience pack. Suddenly, he hears sounds approaching from the darkness but can't see anything. The entity suggests he use the Eye of Shadows, but the young man doesn't know what that is. It instructs him to focus the energy in his eyes to activate the new and mysterious ability. His eyes glow with a purple light, and he finally manages to use the power successfully. With his new vision, he sees several spikes flying towards him at high speed. With an agile leap, he manages to dodge a huge wooden spike by a very narrow margin. The projectile crashes against the cave wall and releases a strange green smoke. Dodging more attacks, he wonders what these fast and dangerous things are. Two spikes hit him in the back, but he refuses to go down and prepares for more. With great agility, he continues to evade the projectiles while looking for an opening. The entity mocks him and says that the Eye of Shadows doesn't work because he is too weak. Challenged by the taunt, he focuses more energy into his eyes to strengthen the ability. The Shadow Monarch is impressed with the young man's skill, despite him being only a rank E. His improved vision now identifies two species of insects and their very dangerous names. He breaks into a cold sweat as he clearly sees the immense number of monsters awaiting him in the darkness. The cave is infested with insects on the floor and ceiling, ready to begin their assault. The horde of creatures advances on him without giving our hero a second of rest. The entity praises his tactic of cornering himself to avoid being surrounded by enemies. With two shadow daggers in hand, he prepares to face all the monsters at once. Releasing a wave of purple energy, he yells for all those creatures to vanish. The shadow is surprised and wonders if he has already awakened the second form of the Eye of Shadows. A system screen confirms level 2 of the ability, and the entity calls him a great surprise. His character sheet is updated, showing his new shadow and transformation abilities. With the enhanced power, he notices that the insect's movements have slowed by half. The Eye of Shadows now reveals the monster's weak points with an intense purple glow. He understands that all the insects have their weak point on the underside of their bodies. Using a new ability, he summons giant shadow spikes that emerge from the ground. The purple stakes pierce all the monsters from below and finish off the horde in seconds. He collects the crystals and sees his progress towards rank D rise slowly with each one. With the weakness discovered, the young man advances to end the fight once and for all. A green insect attacks him by surprise, and he wonders what the heck that fast thing is. With his Eye of Shadows, he can see clearly and identifies the creature as a sword insect. His dagger suddenly transforms into a whip, leaving the entity surprised with his skill. With the new whip, he manages to trap the creature in mid-air and says confidently that he's got it now. Pulling the bug to the ground, he dares it to jump again, and the system registers its weakness. The other flying insects see the scene and shoot several toxic spikes at our hero. Taunting the creatures, he says he also likes to shoot and prepares a counter-attack with the shadows. Then he fires his own shadow projectiles and challenges them to see who shoots better now. His progress to rank D increases a little more, and he turns to the other enemies on the floor. Using the whip masterfully, he pulls all the flying creatures to the ground at once. The shadow entity praises him, saying that he finally seems worthy of that power. The Eye of Shadows increases his senses and strength but also consumes a lot of mental energy. This is the great disadvantage of the ability and the price he needs to pay to use this power. Even at his limit, his vision blurs, but he recalls that he gained the power to get payback. One of the insects strikes him right in the face, but the desire for revenge keeps him standing. Looking at the remaining time, he refuses to fall there as he still has 15 hours to go. The image of those who covered up his parents' passing and forced him into debt appears in his mind. With the power in his hands, he swears he will get back at them for everything they did to him and his family. He promises to drag all his arrogant enemies to the underworld and make them pay for their crimes. Sitting on a throne of insects, he vows they will kneel and repent at his parents' graves. The shadow entity notes that human hatred aligns perfectly with the shadow system. As the promised time approaches, his progress to rank D increases more and more. The shadow warns him about releasing so much energy, but he needs a little more to advance. With only 1 second left, he decides to bet everything to get stronger. Finally, the remaining time on the counter reaches 0, and the evolution test concludes. At the last moment, he leaps and releases a powerful wave of purple energy against the monsters. A system screen informs him that he has reached 100% and has been promoted to rank D. Drained, he laughs in relief, and the shadow says that now, just barely, it can call him Little D. With his serious and determined gaze, he now feels more confident with his new power. He then spots a giant weapon on the ground, and the shadow explains that it is a level A dagger. Holding the weapon, he asks if that is really a dagger, as it looks like a massive sword. The shadow says that these weapons are nothing compared to its energy and tosses some daggers on the ground. The entity asks if he can use the daggers for something else, and he decides to sell them. He then explains that only level D advanced can sell, and heads to the registration hall. At the location, people are stunned to learn that he was classified as a simple level E. The receptionist explains that even with good stats, his energy is undetectable, hence the low grade. Looking at the papers, he sees that his new minor level grants him a 15% increase. Outside, the shadow boasts, saying that human perception is limited for its energy. Our hero thinks that being undetectable is good, but it will make it difficult to sell equipment. He then decides to go to the black market, and the entity finds the place perfect for the shadows. Arriving at the black market, a man complains about the mine smell that the protagonist carries. Looking at the swords, the entity scoffs at the human weapons and suddenly feels sorry for the youth. The seller kicks him out and says that if he dirties anything there, he wouldn't be able to pay for the merchandise. Our hero questions the treatment, and the man calls him poor and broke. Irritated, he summons his giant sword and challenges the seller to evaluate his weapon's worth. Abruptly, a couple arrives, and the woman is surprised to see that the man is a level D advanced. The young woman introduces herself as Su Qing, and the young man as Zhou Ting, who complains about being in that stinky place. The seller treats him well, and the man says he will sell a sword to buy her a car. He shows the Winhao sword, a coveted weapon among level D advanced. Hooted, our protagonist recognizes the girl, and she is aghast to see him in the store. A memory shows her leaving him after his parents' passing because he was in debt. When questioned, she denies knowing him and says he must be just a fan since she is an influencer. The man gets annoyed with the familiarity and complains that the store lets any riff-raff in. With his sword glowing, he tells him to take his junk to the scrapyard before it closes. Without hesitation, the man assails him with his sword and yells for him to disappear. To everyone's astonishment, the man's sword shatters upon touching our hero's weapon. Sitting on the counter, he says with a grin that the real scrap is the other guy's sword. The girl can't believe it, and the man curses in frustration upon seeing his precious weapon broken. Furious and with his eyes glowing red, the man charges at him with everything he's got. Calmly, our hero stops the blow with one hand and remarks that his opponent is too slow. Even unarmed, the man continues the assault, and our protagonist compliments his moves. He dodges with ease and prepares for a counter-attack with his giant sword. With a powerful blow, he throws him back and challenges him to see what he will do now. The youth notes that the attack speed is much slower than that of the insects in the test. Annoyed, the man doesn't understand how a simple miner can be so strong and skilled. Despite being level D, he can't land a single hit and gets more and more frustrated. Our hero uses the shadow whip to easily trap his opponent's arm. Leaping into the air, the man yells that miners should crawl back to their holes. With a confident smirk, he asks if dogs should crawl back to the ground. He then yanks the whip hard and prepares to teach his adversary a lesson. The man is thrown violently to the floor and cannot believe what is happening. On his knees and humiliated, his girlfriend screams his name in shock upon seeing the scene. With a contemptuous smile, the youth says it seems the other guy really likes being a dog. Enraged, the man gets up and yells that he will finish him for such humiliation. Suddenly, a powerful voice commands everyone to stop, and a group of men enters the store. Wang Defa, the store owner and a level D advanced, reprimands them for fighting in his establishment. The girl blames our hero, saying he broke her boyfriend's sword, which is why he attacked. The store owner looks at the young man with a serious gaze and questions if he is a miner. He asks if it's true that the youth broke his client's weapon with that sword. With a smile, he explains that he was attacked first, and is not to blame if the other's sword broke. The store owner asks the young man if the story is true, and he remains silent. In a silent agreement, they decide that the seller takes the goods, and he gets the money. Offering to mediate, the store owner says he will resolve this situation between the two. He then asks to take a look at the youth's sword, and our hero hands it over without hesitation. Upon holding the weapon, the man is shocked by the weight and the strength required to wield it. He wonders if the young man is in advance for holding a 50-kilogram sword so easily. Suspicious, the store owner asks where a simple miner got that weapon. Our hero replies that the black market doesn't need to verify the source of products. The man says it was just curiosity, but the youth perceives he is just testing him. Not caring, he reveals that he found the sword while mining in a cave. The shop owner evaluates the weapon and says it's sturdy but worth a few hundred at most. He proposes to buy the sword and pay the young man's debt to the other to resolve the mess. Posing as a good man, he asks if the proposed deal pleases everyone there. The man agrees, and the girl complains that now she won't get her new car as promised. With a malicious grin, the youth tells her not to worry, as he will sell his organs. Our hero realizes that it was all a setup to rob him from the beginning of the commotion. With a look of pure hatred, he says that if someone has a problem, it won't be just him. A purple aura explodes from his body, and he prepares to face everyone in the store. The shop owner orders his goons to attack him and finish off that miner. Finding the fight boring, he invites the couple to the tea room to await the result. One of the goons is thrown into the air with a powerful blow, and the others are in shock. The shop owner yells for them to be careful not to break any expensive merchandise. Our hero kicks another goon hard and throws him to the ground without any difficulty. The man becomes furious seeing his men being defeated by a simple miner. He then joins the fray and kicks one of his own men who is in the way. With a cold look and his eyes glowing, our protagonist says it's his turn now. The youth admits that the opponent's skills are good, but he is just a loser. With a red aura, he advances and declares that in front of a level D ascendant, he is nothing. Our hero stops the attack with one hand and his opponent is shocked by his strength. With a slap, he throws the man into the air, making him spit red fluid from the force of the blow. Livid, he yells that not even his father hit him and swears he will finish the youth. A ball of energy forms in his hand and he fires it with all his strength. Our hero creates a shadow barrier and defends the attack without any problem. The man can't believe what he sees and realizes it's like an invisible wall in front of him. With a step forward, he says he will teach the spoiled brat a lesson. Then he uses his shadows to trap the man in a giant spider web. The opponent wonders if he is a rank C or B ascendant to be so strong. With a smirk, our hero says he is just a level E miner certified by the guild. Desperate, the man reveals he is from the Black Panther gang to try to intimidate him. Our protagonist hears the name of the Lone Shark gang with a dark and very dangerous look. Without mercy, he punches the man while his girlfriend screams, desperately upon seeing the scene. He kicks them both away and leaves them fallen on the store floor with no chance to fight back. The man spits red fluid and cannot believe the strength of that supposed miner. Our hero says angrily that the thing he hates most in the world are lone sharks like him. The shop owner attacks him and yells for him to go to a dark place for causing so much trouble. But the youth dodges with ease and throws him to the ground with a kick of pure purple energy. Terrified, the man tries to negotiate and offers money for him to forget everything that happened. Our hero asks if his thick skin is worth only 2,000 per slap, and the man offers more. He uses his shadow whip to toy with the man and says the slaps were just the interest. Desperate, the man offers his 5 million VIP card and swears it's all he has. Seeing the card, our hero realizes they are the ones who forced him to mine for the NG group. He considers the money a refund and says the gang has already exploited him too much. The girlfriend helps the man up and asks if he is okay after the beating. He gets irritated and blames her for saying our hero was just a miner. With his phone in hand, he swears his money is not so easy to take and calls someone. On the street, the head of the Black Panther gang answers the call under a red and gloomy sky. The man tells a fabricated story and asks for help to get payback on our protagonist. Elsewhere, the gang leader and his men inspect a cargo in a truck. With his powers, he controls the bodies of some victims and asks if there is anyone else. He doesn't care about the youth's life or demise, but the threat to his gang annoys him. Back at the guild, an employee offers to help our hero with something. He says he is a level E advanced and is looking for missions suitable for his rank. Two men mock him, saying that there are only level D missions and above there. Other people in the guild also call him a freeloader and look down on him for being a rank E. The employee tells him to wait outside near the trash, and our hero obeys. Looking at his phone, he sees that the 5 million were taken by the lone sharks at that very moment. Suddenly, a high-heeled boot steps forcefully in front of a group of advanced. Everyone is shocked by the presence and the overwhelming pressure of the newcomer. A woman with a B-rank aura appears and everyone feels the pressure of her immense power. She has white hair and fox ears, and her presence commands respect and fear. People wonder what a rank B advance would be doing in that place. With his eye of shadows, he notices she has no intent to harm, but her energy is contained. A man offers a mining mission for level D advanced in front of the woman. Everyone finds it strange that our hero is not affected by the woman's aura and even takes a step forward. With a confident smile, he decides that he will have to be the one to accept that mission. The woman finds him interesting for resisting her pressure, and the employee approaches her. Ignoring the employee, she points to our hero and says she wants him for the mission. The man tries to argue that he is not registered, but she interrupts him with authority. With a furious look, she states that she is the rules and insists on taking him with her. The employee guides them out, and everyone wonders who that mysterious miner is. In the dungeon, a giant meteor attacks with a wooden club with all its might. A bard plays his flute to strengthen his teammates in battle. The team is well balanced with a frontline DPS and support for the fight. A warrior with a spiked shield easily blocks the Minotaur's assault. The good teamwork and the rank B woman in the lead ensure that everything goes smoothly, but our hero senses something wrong with his eye of shadows, and his expression changes. He realizes that the Minotaurs at the back of the cave are far above level D. The shadow entity explains that his perception is far beyond that of the other members. Our protagonist wonders if the team leader already knew about the danger and remains silent. One of the members informs the woman that the crystal vein she is looking for is inside. She then calls our hero to go with her, and he wonders why she would take him. He doesn't understand if she doesn't care about the others passing or if she is too confident in her power. Abruptly, the ground trembles and a dangerous energy emanates from the back of the cave. The leader jumps to dodge falling rocks, and our protagonist follows her closely. The two land safely while the other team members are left behind. With a serious look, our hero prepares for whatever is coming from the darkness. A level D miter appears and roars with a giant axe in its hands. Our protagonist is surprised to see that the rank B ascendant is going to join the fight. With her sword in hand, the woman prepares for battle with an intense red aura. She seems a little nervous, but her determination to fight is unshakable. The woman tells our hero to advance, but he refuses, stating he is just a minor. She is paralyzed with fear and cannot move in the face of the powerful monsters. Sitting on the ground, she begs him to fight while the youth complains about risking his life. Crying in despair, the woman offers 1 million for him to defeat the monsters. Seeing the amount in her situation, our hero finally decides to take action. With a confident smile and his shadow daggers, he says he will do the job reluctantly. Wielding his weapons, he advances into battle against the horde of furious minotaurs. 3 monsters surround him, but he faces them with courage and challenges them to a fight. He dodges and attacks with mastery, showing his superiority against the enemies. The woman despairs upon seeing a monster defeated, as her million might be lost. She then releases a wave of red energy and attacks the minotaurs with her own power. Relieved, he realizes she still had a trick up her sleeve and that he overthought it. One of the monsters ignores our hero and jumps to attack the woman with its axe. With his giant sword, he blocks the assault and prepares to protect the leader. He spins his sword and cuts the minotaur in half with a single powerful blow. Turning to her, he sarcastically asks if she really knows how to attract the monster's attention. The woman ignores him and runs to the back of the cave, leaving him alone with the orcs. With no choice, he prepares to finish off the remaining monsters with his giant sword. Reaching her objective, the woman stops, exhausted, and feels safe for being there. An even larger minotaur appears behind her, and she realizes she is not safe yet. The woman is shocked to see the size and strength of the new giant minotaur. She doesn't understand why the monster doesn't seem afraid of her, even with her power. The minotaur strikes with its wooden club, and she prepares to defend against the blow. Our hero finds it strange that she is afraid even with the power to fight the monster. A ring on her finger glows and protects her from the attack, but she still screams in pain. The shockwave from the assault throws the previous minotaur's body far away with ease. Our protagonist watches the scene attentively as the creature is launched into the air. The ring on her hand breaks, and she realizes her protective item has been destroyed. The youth wonders if the previous attack came not from her real strength but from an item. He then questions if she is the type of ascendant who doesn't know how to fight, and she confirms it. She asks him to keep it a secret, and the young man says it will cost more. Suddenly, the minotaurs ignore our hero and attack only the woman with fury. With his Eye of Shadows activated, he tries to understand the monster's strange behavior. He perceives someone's hidden presence and understands why the minotaurs are agitated. A minotaur prepares to attack the woman from behind, but our hero stops it. With his giant sword, he cuts the monster in half and protects her from the surprise attack. He notices that more and more minotaurs are gathering, and the situation becomes dangerous. With a smile, he understands that the hidden enemy's target is the woman and has a plan. He summons shadow chains and traps the minotaurs on the ground with his ability. Then he warns the woman to be careful, adding that her protective items are gone. The woman gets annoyed that he revealed her secret out loud in front of the enemies. The bard hides in the shadows and observes our hero's fight with the minotaurs. He complains that a simple miner almost ruined his plan to finish off the woman. He then appears behind her and says he will blame her for the ungrateful father she has. A flash of white light fills the screen as the bard prepares to attack the woman. Our hero blocks the strike with his sword and protects the woman from the finishing blow. The bard is shocked to see that his attack was stopped by a supposed miner. He reveals that the bard used infrasound to control the minotaurs and assail the woman. Laughing, the man admits he was careless to fall into the hands of a simple miner. With a red aura, he warns that the fight is not over yet and that he has not won. The fallen minotaurs begin to rise, shrouded in a red and dark energy. The creatures are now stronger and ready to continue the battle under his command. A giant creature forms, and he promises to show how terrifying a control-type being is. The woman senses the Class C aura and realizes he is absorbing the monster's life force. The ground turns to lava, and she wonders if he is evolving into a lava minotaur. Our protagonist is impressed with the trick of jumping from D to C and feels inferior. The lava minotaur roars, and its Class C rating is confirmed by the system. With a fairy blow, the creature assails them both with devastating force and power. Our hero positions himself in front of the woman to protect her from the attack with his sword. The explosion of fire and rock hits them both with overwhelming force. He realizes that the destructive power of a Class C is far beyond his capabilities. The woman notices that he is injured with some burns from the fire explosion. The two get up and face the lava minotaur, which now seems even stronger. He holds her hand and prepares to flee from that powerful and dangerous monster. With a cry, he pulls her, and they both run away from the giant lava minotaur. But the monster grabs the woman's foot, preventing her from escaping with our hero. With his shadow dagger, he cuts the creature's arm and manages to free her. He then uses his shadow chains to trap the minotaur and buy some time. He warns that he can't hold it for long and tells her to run while she can. Our hero tells her to run as far as possible within the cave's labyrinth. She asks if he is not going with her, but the youth has other plans in mind. He explains that he needs to hold the monster to give her time to escape. With a smile, he promises he will find her soon and asks her to hide well. He calls her his $1 million investment and watches her run to safety. A system screen updates his knowledge base with the new monsters found. The lava minotaur breaks free from the chains and wonders where our hero has hidden. Sitting on a rock, he taunts the monster and asks if it is looking for someone. Furious, the minotaur demands to know where the woman he was chasing is. With its flaming axe, the creature advances to attack the youth with all its strength. Leaping into the attack, he challenges the monster to guess where the woman is hiding. He strikes the creature with his sword, but it causes no damage to its rock skin. Shocked, he realizes his powerful weapon cannot even scratch the monster. The cracks in the minotaur's rock are also impenetrable to his sharp blade. The creature laughs and calls him foolish for trying to use a knife against a stone. He decides he needs to lure the monster into an open space away from the lava. Running through the cave, he dodges attacks, and the minotaur calls him a rat. The monster taunts him, asking if all he knows how to do is run and flee from the fight. With his Eye of Shadows activated, he believes that every strong being has a weak point. The creature swears it will finish him first, and then go after the woman for payback. The minotaur attacks with a fairy punch, but our hero dodges and finds an opening. With his Eye of Shadows, he finally finds the purple energy core in the monster's chest. With his giant sword, he attacks the weak point with all his strength, aiming for the core. The youth is shocked to see that the monster blocked his attack with ease. The creature warns him that it knows what he is thinking and that his tricks are useless. With a powerful blow, the minotaur throws him far away with overwhelming force. Our hero is impressed by the incredible power and wonders if that is just a Class C. The creature challenges him to see where he will run now that he is cornered. Calmly, he decides he needs to wait for the right moment to strike the monster. The minotaur taunts him for no longer running and dares him to attack again. He plans to wait for the next attack to find a new opportunity to win. Seizing the opening, he attacks the energy core with his shadow daggers. The lava core pulses with intense and powerful energy upon being hit directly. He is shocked to see that his attack had no effect on the lava monster. The heat is so intense that not even the shadow energy can completely block it. He realizes the monster is smarter than he thought and knows how to protect its weak point. The lava minotaur admits that our hero discovered its weakness, but that changes nothing. It offers to spare the youth's life in exchange for the location of the woman he seeks. Our protagonist refuses to trust a traitor who sells out his own kind. Furious, the monster assails him with its fire axe and yells that he has a wish to be ended. He dodges the blow and challenges it to stop evading if it has the courage to fight. Using the chain blade, he prepares for a quick and precise counter-attack. The creature taunts him for dodging too, but he has a plan in mind. He then transforms his weapon into a rope dart to attack from a distance with precision. The dart multiplies and hits the lava minor's energy core dead on. The shadow darts embed themselves in the creature's chest, but it's still not enough. The lava energy begins to melt his shadow weapons with the intense heat. The monster laughs and says his attacks are useless against its body of rock and fire. The creature tells him to give up the fight and accept his defeat in the face of its power. He realizes he is burning too much shadow energy and the situation becomes dangerous. In a moment of desperation, he wonders if he should ask the shadow entity for help. He refuses to let the entity control his body, even if it costs him his life. Besides, he can't waste the chance to gain a lot of experience by taking out the monster. With a swift move, he attacks the energy core with all his strength and determination. He can't believe he can't break the creature's defense even with all his power. Screaming, he releases all his energy in a single blow to try to break through the barrier. The impact of the attack causes an explosion of light and purple energy against the lava monster. The minotaur roars in pain and the system informs him that its HP is low, activating berserk mode. The creature assails him with fury and he wonders why it suddenly became so aggressive. The blow throws him hard against the cave wall, and he feels the impact on his body. The monster is surprised to have been pushed so far by a simple miner and praises him. With a determined look, he prepares to end the fight once and for all. He feels his eyes burn, and a new sensation of power begins to flow through his body. The shadow energy surges from his body, stronger than ever, and he feels renewed. The entity explains that this energy was always there, but was only released by the extreme heat. A new shadow enhancement ability is unlocked, and his wounds begin to heal. The monster is shocked by the speed of the healing and the frightening aura he now emits. It decides it cannot let him recover any further and goes for the final attack. Our hero dodges the blow with impressive speed, leaving the monster surprised. The creature can't believe he can keep up with its triple speed increase. With a wicked laugh, it wonders if our hero is really just a rank E. The minotaur threatens to flood the place with lava so that our hero has nowhere to run. A wave of fire advances, but the youth faces it calmly, confident in his new power. The creature yells for the lava to turn him to ash, but he is not shaken by the threat. The lava monster is surprised to see that he is not afraid of its devastating attack. With his feet wrapped in purple energy, he floats over the lava without any problem. He wonders if this is the power of the shadow enhancement and what the maximum level can do. Taunting the monster, he says the heat is too low and calls it the boiler boy. The creature can't believe what it sees, and the youth says it's now his turn to attack. With his weapon in hand, he prepares to show the monster the true power of the shadows. He advances and assails the Minotaur with impressive and renewed speed and strength. With his 2 daggers, he delivers a series of quick and precise blows to the creature. His enhancement has increased his defense, strength, and speed by 200%. The monster screams in pain as it feels the blows and realizes its hand was injured in the attack. Furious, it curses our hero and cannot believe it was injured by a simple human. With his daggers crossed, he prepares for an even more powerful and decisive attack. He launches a charged, long-range attack that hits the monster's body dead on. The Minotaur complains because even with the lava, it can regenerate infinitely there. The creature laughs and says its attacks are useless because it can heal endlessly. Our hero doubts the infinite regeneration and prepares for the next move. With his Eye of Shadows, he notices that the monster's energy is beginning to weaken. The Minotaur challenges him to try again and prepares for another powerful attack. Our hero repeatedly strikes the monster with his shadow weapon without stopping. The creature gets tired of the attacks and prepares for a devastating counterattack. Suddenly, the monster's energy core begins to shrink and it is in shock. With a victorious smile, our hero says that its energy has reached its limit. The monster tries to negotiate, saying there are no hard feelings between them and they can stop. It offers 5 million for the woman and promises to pay as soon as they return to the city. Our hero is suspicious of the proposal and says it might bring reinforcements for payback. The Minotaur swears it is not the type of person who breaks promises to try to convince him. With an ironic smile, the youth reminds it of its own betrayal in words. He says that handing a traitor over to the woman's father would earn a favor worth more than 5 million. The monster knows that if it falls into her father's hands, it will be lost forever. With no way out, it decides it won't be blamed for its actions and takes a drastic measure. The shadow entity wonders why it has a fragment of the other world's prison gate. She explains that if the fragment is destroyed, everyone will be trapped there forever. The monster laughs, saying it was our hero who forced it to take this desperate action. It prepares to crush the crystal, but the youth hurls his shadow dagger to stop it. With incredible speed, he grabs the fragment before it's too late. He then pierces the Minotaur's energy core with the gate's own crystal. The creature roars in pain as its lava body begins to slowly disintegrate. With shadow darts embedded in the core, the monster finally begins to fall apart. The lava Minotaur falls defeated to the ground, and its energy slowly dissipates. Upon absorbing the core, he understands why the other Minotaurs didn't have this energy. With a confused look, he doesn't understand what just happened to his body. The entity explains that without the Minotaur, the dungeon is beginning to collapse. Outside the cave, the woman invites him to join her faction, but he refuses. He says he doesn't plan to join anyone and asks her to keep his powers a secret. She agrees and gives him the promised million, and he thanks her for her honesty. He then offers her his giant sword to evaluate and see if she can sell it. She notes that the material is unusual and promises to assess its value and give him his share later. Saying goodbye, he thinks that if she recognizes the sword's value, his problems are over. But he suspects she might be like the shop owner and try to steal from him in some way. In his room, he wonders about the gate fragment and its importance to the entity. The fragment glows in his hand, and he thinks about the possibility of reaching rank S with it. The entity realizes the fragments are reappearing and that it needs to speed up its recovery. It decides that the young man is the key to its plan and that it needs to make him stronger. His character sheet is updated to rank D with new shadow abilities. He goes to the NG group's mine and sees that it is closed due to an accident. He realizes that with his current strength, he cannot uncover the truth about his parents' passing. But with his eyes glowing blue, he vows he will find out what happened in that place. In a flashback, a man offers 200,000 as compensation for his parents' passing. He asks if the money is not enough, but the youth doesn't care about the amount. Our hero refuses the money, saying all he wants is to know the truth about the accident. The man gets annoyed, stating he already told him his parents perished in a mine accident. He yells that it's impossible because his parents were Class C awakened and wouldn't go down like that. A security guard stops him from entering and says that even Class C can perish in a spectral zone. Our hero argues that the zone is Class E and that his parents could have escaped. The man gets irritated and accuses him of trying to extort more money from the company with his questions. He lunges at the youth and threatens him, saying he is looking for his own end. The president of the NG group arrives and tells everyone to stop the commotion right then. He reprimands his employee for not properly consoling the victim's family. Posing as a good man, he offers the money and says he can help him with his problems. The youth refuses, and the president promises a full investigation to provide an explanation. But instead, they accuse him of theft and force him to pay a debt of millions. The entity advises him to collect more fragments because without power, he will always be oppressed. Our hero retorts that if it weren't for his undetectable energy, he wouldn't be in that situation. He wonders if the entity is good or bad and why it suddenly shrank in size. The entity gets irritated and says it is only with him because it sees some potential in his power. Unexpectedly, he receives a mission invitation on his phone and is surprised. Arriving at the chemical zone, he apologizes for the delay, explaining he came from another zone. An older man recognizes him and calls him by name, and our hero greets him. He praises him for having grown up, remembering that 5 years have passed since the accident. 3 mercenaries complain about waiting for a simple miner for the mission. The organizer explains that the task is to mine 60 kilograms of ice crystal ore. Our hero finds it an exaggeration to have 4 Class Cs for a mission in a Class D zone. He senses the mercenaries' bloodlust and realizes they are not good people. A woman watches the team through a camera and says her toys are all gathered. The Blood Leopard, second in command of the Black Panther gang, declares the hunt is about to begin. A system screen updates the database with information about fragments and energy stones. The older man asks if he isn't going to wear a protective suit, but our hero declines. The mercenaries mock him and call him the king of the dumps for being an ascended miner. The uncle advises him not to mess with them, but the youth assures him he is not being reckless. He notices that the vegetation has been altered to hide something and senses a harmful intent. The group continues to walk through the forest, while our hero stays alert to his surroundings. Suddenly, a surprise attack almost hits him, but he manages to evade it just barely. He wonders if the enemy is hiding in the shadows or if they have another plan. The mercenaries hurry him and call him trash for dragging his feet and slowing down the team. He decides to use the environment to throw them off and watch them from the shadows safely. With a shout, he grabs the uncle, and they both start running at high speed through the forest. The mercenaries are shocked by the miner's speed and wonder how it's possible. The mercenaries decide to ignore the two, saying they will perish anyway. The Blood Leopard watches the 3 from above and wonders if they sense the danger. He finds it amusing that not everyone is foolish, as that would make the game very boring. One of the mercenaries feels that something is wrong and that they are being watched on the mission. Another feels a chill down his spine and begins to agree with the sense of danger. They consider turning back, but the group leader scolds them for panicking. Unexpectedly, they realize they are being observed and go on high alert. The Blood Leopard appears and the 2 mercenaries prepare for a fight. He traps them with his blood threads and asks if they want to leave so soon. The leader asks him to release his brother, saying they can talk about the problem. With a wicked smile, he cuts his hostage and says there is nothing more to discuss. The other 2 are horrified to see their brother attacked in front of them. One of them charges forward with fury and swears he will fight to the end against the leopard. But the villain traps him with his blood threads and easily stops his assault. He scoffs at the mercenary and calls him pathetic for trying to fight him. With a squeeze of his threads, he finishes the man, and his red fluid sprays everywhere. The last survivor is paralyzed with fear and calls him a monster for his actions. The leopard calls him a tasty prey, and the gang leader starts running desperately. Elsewhere, our hero and his uncle rest in the forest after losing the mercenaries. He asks the uncle if he has offended anyone recently, but the man denies it, being a miner. He explains that the mission is a deadly trap and someone wants them all gone. The survivor appears, and our hero asks the uncle to tell him everything he knows about the mission. Furious, the man blames our hero for not warning him about the danger, causing his brother's demise. The youth says he is not entirely useless, as he at least drew out the operation's mastermind. With his eyes glowing, he warns the man that he is about to perish there. The Blood Leopard appears and traps the mercenary with his blood threads without warning. He is surprised to see that a simple miner managed to perceive his presence. With his Eye of Shadows activated, our hero prepares for battle against the villain. The uncle pleads for his life, saying he never messed with the Leopard's gang. The villain reveals that if it weren't for him talking while drunk, they wouldn't have known there was a survivor. Terrified, the uncle swears he will take the secret to his grave and won't tell anyone. The leopard smiles, and our hero shouts for the uncle to watch out for the coming attack. With a blood thread, he finishes the uncle, stating that only the departed can keep secrets. Our protagonist is enraged by his uncle's demise and calls the man a wretch. He advances to attack the leopard with his shadow daggers, and the fight begins. The villain praises his skills, remarking it's no wonder he managed to defeat his subordinate. But he underestimates him, saying the most he can do is defeat someone like that. With a powerful blow, the leopard shatters the ground and our hero dodges just in time. He challenges the youth to go down first and advances for the attack with his blood claws. Our hero activates his shadow enhancement and prepares for the intense combat. He realizes that not even the shadow enhancement can withstand the villain's blows. The leopard taunts him, asking if he is still distracted in the middle of the intense battle. Our hero jumps back after an attack, and the enemy just observes him with contempt. He understands that fighting up close puts him at a disadvantage and needs a new strategy. With a wicked smile, the villain licks his lips and promises that they will both perish there today. Activating his supreme Eye of Shadows, the youth retorts that they will see who really perishes. Using the shadow transformation, he creates daggers and charges forward with a swift assault. The daggers hit the leaper, but he feels nothing and asks if that's all the youth has. Our protagonist jumps for a new attack, yelling that obviously that wasn't everything. The villain admits he has some tricks, but unfortunately, they would be of no use. With his blood threads, he breaks the youth's defense and calls him a simple Class E. Out of nowhere, the surviving mercenary emerges from the ground and yells for the leopard to go to a dark place. The villain is trapped by a strange ability, and the mercenary says his weakness has been exposed. With a smile, the leopard reveals that close combat is actually his greatest specialty. Stunned, the mercenary realizes he has fallen into a trap and cannot believe what he sees. The villain yells for him to be gone and assails him without mercy with his sharp blood blades. Shocked, our hero can't believe that a powerful Class C was defeated so easily. He realizes the power difference and pulls the uncle, saying the best option is to flee. The blood leopard laughs at the attempt, asking if they really think they can escape. The scene then concludes with a view of the moon in the night sky, leaving a suspenseful mood. Our hero helps his injured uncle and promises to get him out of there at night, but the man asks to be left behind. The youth then asks why the blood leopard wants him gone, and the uncle is silent for a moment. With a serious expression, the man reveals that he might know the truth about the passing of the young man's parents. Surprised by the revelation, our hero is speechless and can only murmur something. His eyes glow with a purple fury, and he shouts in shock at the news he has just received.